Hey everyone, Doran Crutcher here from the BlockHeads series. I'm happy to be hosting this series of interviews with some of the top contestants from the Near Hack the Rainbow Hackathon. In this episode, I've had the distinct pleasure of interviewing Aaron Dunning from Vitalpoint AI, where he showcased his VP DAO application, which facilitates the coordination and resource allocation using Decentralized Autonomous Organization technologies. I'm really sure you guys are really excited to find out more about what that means and what that looks like. So with that, I say we jump right into the interview. So to summarize what Aaron created, using the Moloch V2 DAO from Ethereum as a foundation inspiration, he built an application that helps communities autonomously manage community funds. Approved members get voting rights and the ability to submit proposals as to how these community funds should be used. So instead of having a board of directors organize a meeting in person or over Zoom to decide amongst themselves which projects to fund or even who should be a member of that board, all of that is automated in the DAO like the one Aaron built. The blockchain contract defines the rules for how the organization works, manages how proposals are submitted and by whom, monitors voting, and ultimately funds management and distribution. This means the organization is controlled by its community and no central authority. Decisions are transparent, and the automation eliminates the need for managerial involvement once decisions are made. It's a new blockchain way of running a community and allocating its resources on what that community feels is important. Oh, that's so cool. How did you get that? How did you get started?
Well, blockchain in general, it was, I think around 2018 and 2017, I think.
You're using your platform to build like a parachute, like logging or tracking?
Right now in the parachuting world, basically everybody writes down their jumps that they do, and it's all hard copy. And they have to get an instructor to sign off on the fact that they did that jump. So people have these books that are, 300 up to thousands of jumps long. And if that book ever disappears, it's impossible to replicate that data because you'd have to go back and find every instructor that you jumped with. They'd have to remember that they jumped with you and then sign off on your jump again just to prove it was done. And those are important for getting certain qualifications and things in the parachuting world. So, if it's gone, it's gone. So that was kind of the impetus to build this parachuting application at that time. So.
Oh, wow.
And that's kind of the direction I've gone with Vitalpoint AI and the guild, focusing on real world applications and problems that exist. And they're typically things that affect me right now, but I'm sure they have application in other realms as well. So
actually, I think it's a cool transition into like your project. So if you want to give us the name of your project and then what the problem that your project aims to solve, I think that'd be really cool.
The project's name is Vitalpoint DAO. So DAO is Decentralized Autonomous Organization. And actually, I knew nothing about DAOs before the hackathon. I think it was Nima or someone at Near aimed me at the Moloch DAO on Ethereum, and I went and took a read of it. And as soon as I did, I noticed some similarities between what it was trying to do and what the Near Guilds program was trying to do in terms of having people propose projects and then find a way to collectively kind of vote on them and decide which ones were good for funding and that sort of thing. I decided to try and solve that problem. Basically, give people a way to manage community resources in an efficient manner. And a DAO seemed like a good way to do it. So I ended up trying to port the Moloch DAO from Ethereum. So it's running on Near in assembly script right now. So.
Oh, wow. It's amazing. Would you like to show us a demo of your project?
Yeah, I could definitely take you through that. I can figure it out here. Okay, so this is the DAO that I put up on or ported from Moloch. So this is what you'd see when you show up at the front page here. And it goes through the whole Near authorization piece. So I'm signing in as vitalpointai.testnet.
Okay.
And this is the initial setup for the DAO. So it can take any kind of tokens, but for this, I built a fungible token on Near called VPC. It could also work with Near as well, but And then you'd set some things like voting period lengths and grace periods and etc. Won't go through each of these in any detail, but they'll make sense in a minute.
Okay.
All right, so that sets things up behind in the background. So this is the DAO. So the interface here, got your account up here, a bit of information about it telling you whether you're a member of the DAO or not yet. I am, because I just signed in. I was the first person that summoned the DAO, which gives me one voting share within the DAO. And there'll be two kind of banks that are associated with it. So there's the bank that is the guild bank, and you can see the balance of it right now is 0. And then the escrow bank, where funds are kind of held before things finalize, and then they move over to the guild bank. So what we'll do, we'll sign out from that, and we'll sign back in as somebody else. And as you can see here, so this person is not a member yet, has no voting rights or any funds associated with them. So basically the only thing you can do at this point is propose that you become a member. So you can ask for as many voting rights as you want. And if you want, you can also donate to the guild bank, which becomes part of the community funds that can then be held out as well. So we'll submit that proposal. And as you see, it's there. So once it's in, the member would then open it up, put in a reason why they should be considered as a member. So they'd put all their details in here, upload a picture or whatnot. And then it can either be draft or published, so you can come back to it and turn it off or on, depending on whether you want to add more details or not. Submit the details. This number here, this is basically keeping track of minutes. So if you remember it back at the initialization screen, we set the voting period for 60 seconds. So as time ticks by, it needs to keep track of how much time has passed in order for things like voting and that to happen. So now that the proposal is in there, we'll sign back out. It's basically waiting for somebody now to look at it, and people will discuss it. So I come back in. So this is Vital Point, a member. So they're gonna look at the proposal, check it out, see whether it's good. Maybe they want to ask some questions about it. It's a really good idea. About this guy, etc. So as that discussion can go on as long as people want, until they've decided, okay, this is something to consider. At which point, okay, I've said, yeah, he's good to go, so I'll sponsor this. So when the initial proposal was submitted, it had a proposal deposit with it, so that's been put into escrow, as well as when I sponsored it, that's also gone into escrow. Mm-hmm. So the funds are now with the contract, and if things go well and they get approved, then they'll get moved over into the bank or get distributed to the member. So it's now in its voting period. And if you remember at the beginning, we set this for 60 seconds, it's going to take 2 minutes basically. So for this, we'll vote yeah. And then we wait. So it'll take a couple minutes until it's processed. So
no worries.
Yeah, so if there's any questions up to this point, I can probably answer them. But
like, what's a real world example of like one of these guilds?
So if you're in a company, you typically have a bunch of decisions to make. You'll ask people to make proposals. Those will come in. You'll sit around a table as a board of people and decide how we're going to disperse funds to each of these projects or whatnot. Right. So you could use something like this instead of having people come into the room and do that. Each one of those people has one or more voting shares, and you could use a system like this to do it automatically. So the proposal and everything goes online. They can vote on whether they support it or not, and then at the end, everything's distributed automatically, vice having to do it manually. And you can also do it trustlessly, because your funds go to the contract, and the contract handles the distribution. Nobody's reneging on things at the end of it. And as I'll show here in a bit, there's also a way to pull your funds out of it in case you don't agree with the proposal. So.
Oh, okay, I see. And just want to make sure, like, I understand. Like, so could you define guild in this instance? Just make sure I understand. Like,
yeah, guild here is just it's my organization. So Vital Point Guild, it's just my group, my community, I guess. So
okay, got it.
Yeah, anybody. It doesn't have to be a guild. It could be anything. But this is just branded for Vital Point Guild, which is the community that I'm going to be using it for at some point. So.
Got it. Okay. Instead of like having to manually set up a meeting, put the proposal like on the table, talk about it, and like go through that whole like long process, they can just post this on this application. Everybody can see it. You can see what the idea is, and you can discuss it remotely. Yeah. And this will handle the voting and like whether like how the funds get distributed. Do I have the idea?
Yep. That's pretty much it.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
So this was gone through now. So it went through the voting period. Once that was done, there was a finalization period, which is called a grace period for another minute. And then it ends up in the queue here. So basically it says what it is. And at this point, somebody has to come along and process it. Part of the proposal deposit at the beginning goes to the person that processes it. So it's kind of an incentive for people to do that. They get paid for doing so, and it doesn't cost. It's no effort on their part other than pushing the button. So we'll do that. So it's processed, and so it's in the list here, and we can see it passed. It was for one share. You can see the escrow assets are now gone, and that one went into the bank, and then one was distributed to might be to the member. I'll check Intercept. So we'll log back in as the member now. Yeah, so now they are a member. They have one voting share. So now they can start to do more interesting things, like request some funding. So, and like I said, it is multi-token. So you can, if there's another, I guess, NEP21 token on NEAR running, you could just type it in. They could send that and submit. Et voila. So they've submitted a funding proposal. They're asking for 5 VPC, and it'll get processed in the same way. So we'll go back into the other way. Et voila. Person would have filled out the details of the proposal again, and then you could discuss it again, same sort of thing. We'll sponsor it, which means there's now more money in escrow. It'll show up for voting. All right, so this time we'll say we don't support it. We'll say no. And then we'll wait again.
So quick question. So if they do support it, does the funds come from the guild assets, or is there another like parent account can like fund like this proposal?
It comes from the guild bank. So if there's not enough funds in there, it won't work. So typically what will happen, it's like the Ethereum DAO, you'll get people who want to support some kind of objective in a community. They'll all pump a bunch of money into, or a bunch of tokens into the DAO to start with. And then that becomes the pool of money that gets distributed. So,
and then like another question, the number of like shares, that's interesting. So like, I assume like the more shares like a member has, like, does it mean like, how does that affect like, say their voting power? Is that play a part in that, or?
Yeah, it's 1 for 1 right now. So yeah, people could buy votes basically with this mechanism. We are looking, there's a group on NEAR right now looking at a Moloch version 3, which is modular, and potentially has the ability to, you could take out this voting mechanism and insert a different kind, like a contribution voting or a quadratic funding kind of mechanism to suit that community. So yeah, this voting one is just 1 for 1. So obviously it has some issues if people have a whole lot of money and want to take control of things. So, or if a bunch of them collude. But in that instance where a bunch of people do collude and you've said no to the proposal, and now you're worried that your funds are going to be used to support this proposal, this is where you get in this grace period, you have this chance it's called rage quit. And you can basically burn your shares and take your stuff and leave at that point. So that means your money isn't supporting that thing, and then you could come back in later if you wanted. So I'll just let that.
You're currently in the account of the member, or of like kind of like the primary like shareholder?
The sponsor and voted on the other proposal.
Got it.
Voila, and then it's queued. We'll process it. And you can see that the second one didn't pass. There's no more money left in escrow. Everything went back to everybody who started, and still have the one in the bank. In addition to that, there's a couple other things here. So you can whitelist other tokens. So like I said, it's multi-token. So VPC is in there now, but you can submit a proposal to bring other ones on. You can also remove people called guild kick. In this case, if guild leader here, it gets on everybody's bad side, somebody can submit a proposal saying we don't want this guy in the DAO anymore, and everybody can vote on the proposal and he'll get kicked out.
So right now, like shares equals votes. Someone could like theoretically like have a lot of shares right now as it stands to buy a bunch of shares and like get control of like the way things move and the way the funding actually goes for like this particular guild. Yeah. And are you saying like you're looking at options to improve that with, like you said, quadratic
funding? And the other one that I think Nima put me on track of is called contribution funding or contribution voting, and which is interesting. Basically, everybody starts with the same amount of voting power, and then they can basically allocate a portion of that to as many projects as they want. And the longer it's allocated to that project, the more voting power it has over time. So, if somebody's really committed to something, it'll eventually rise to the top. Vice things that kind of show up and they're just kind of flash in the pan type stuff. So that might not be appropriate for every kind of community. So the idea is that there'll be a setting in the initialization piece where you can choose what voting mechanism you want for what proposal, and go from there.
What was the driving idea behind making this?
The inspiration is really just a suggestion that Nima at near.org made in a Telegram chat. You say people were talking about DAOs, and I just looked at it and I saw the benefit of using it for a guild type setting where I have to deal with proposals anyway. So.
But I mean, overall, I just want to say, honestly, that's a really cool application. So, well done.
I appreciate it.
What were some the major challenges you found while building this project?
Like I said, it's not my primary job. So just trying to get up to speed on all the intricacies involved with blockchain. And, I've found that since I've started in the space, everything is, typically pretty disjointed, and trying to put it all together and figure out how it works is difficult at times, but I guess with enough persistence and determination, you can get through it. And like I mentioned, the community at Near has been super helpful at taking those obstacles away when they get in the way. Time would be the other biggest challenge for me. Like everybody else, a million things to do, and sometimes the family wants to see me, but either working or working on this. So it's that's about it. But other than that, like I said, it's kind of a hobby for me and a passion, and I like doing it. So it's not overly onerous or a waste of my time. So
what are some things that were weird to get up to speed on
before coming to this? All the front end stuff for sure, like React. I've been muddling my way through that, and it's working. I can hack something together, but I'm definitely not comfortable there yet. So that's been a long learning curve. Had a little bit of TypeScript knowledge before, so that was one of the big benefits of Near with the ability to code an assembly script. They're very similar, so at least that sped things up a little bit. And actually, the whole deployment sequence and how the Near accounts work, that's actually easier to do than working on Ethereum, I found. So I guess that's been good. I guess on the near side, the thing that has been a little bit difficult is figuring out how the keys work in their system. So they have like full access and then function call access keys, which has a whole lot of good application, but it's still not 100% clear in my head how to make them do what I want them to do. So
figuring out the function keys was like definitely like a challenge for me. Like took a while just like wrap my head around like what they were, like actually how to use them. And you said like just like integrating like IPFS into the application was like another like kind of like challenge area too for you.
Yeah, it was new. So, and like everything's new, right? And there's a whole bunch of new technology or companies coming out with new stuff all the time. So as soon as you see another fancy widget, you need to figure out how to go and integrate that widget, right? So
yeah,
that's it takes me down a whole nother rabbit hole into something else. So
it's like the fun curse of like programming. It's like
pretty much.
I find like every time I start a new project and I like look up some new tool, like I realize, oh, this has like 3 facets to it that I've never even heard about before. And I have to like spend time researching it. It's like both fun because it's always different and changing, but it's like, oh my God. Like,
yeah, exactly. And you see it and it's like, oh, I could do this, and this with that if I like, and then suddenly you're off in a whole different direction. And
YouTube University is like definitely a real thing for me.
Totally, yep.
Do you plan on like continuing this project, keeping it growing?
Yeah. So I mentioned previously the group working on Moloch 3. So at some point, we'll be looking to integrate those features in, or basically upgrading this so it's more modular and you can have more control over the voting mechanisms and other portions to it. We might be able to take this and turn it into like a standalone kind of product, I guess.
Is there a way you would like the community to get involved with like your projects, or like is there any way like people can like find about what you're doing?
Definitely. So Vital Point Guild exists. It's in your guild program, and I'm running the guild basically to take people like me who don't really necessarily have a tech or a programming background, introduce them to blockchain, near some data science, some other stuff as well, and then basically create an army of developers within the guild that we can then work on, bring them up to speed as fast as I can so that we can work on projects together, like the DAO or other stuff. So the headquarters for that's at vitalpoint.ai. If people are interested, they can definitely come there and read about it some more, or you can reach out to me on Twitter at Aaron Looning if anybody's interested.
Check out the description in the video too.
There you go.
For BlockHeads.
Oh, down below.
I mean, this is a really cool application. I think there's a lot of potential in seeing this actually work and like seeing this get involved with like larger companies too. I think it's really exciting. Are you comfortable with like your Git, like having a GitHub link to your project too, or is it like something more within the company still?
No, I published it as part of the hackathon, but yeah, I'll send you the GitHub link to the repository if anybody wants to play around with it or take it and modify it and do whatever they want with it. So
if you want the GitHub link for EP DAO, check the description. And if you want to get in contact with BlockPoint AI, we'll also put their contact info in the description as well.
It's all down below.
And thank you again for taking giving us your time and conducting this interview with me.
Yeah, no problem. Appreciate you reaching out a couple times, and second time I actually answered. So, appreciate it, and basically forcing me to do this. So it's been good. My default usually is to say no to these things. So you'll determine whether I ever do another one again. So appreciate it, and basically forcing me to do this. So it's been good.
If you were okay with it, I would love to see how this application develops, and I would love to do a follow-up interview at some point. When you feel like you're in a good spot, you can always let me know.
For sure. Once I have something else to show, I'll definitely let you know.
Thank you, Aaron, for your time. I really appreciate it. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun interviewing Aaron from BlockPoint AI. If you guys would like to learn more about what Aaron does and what his efforts in building a decentralized community while using your protocol's platform to solve real-world problems looks like, head over to vitalpoint.ai and learn what it means to join the Vitalpoint Guild. I visited a few times, even I've used some of the resources to help myself make these really cool videos you see before you. Like I used their awesome summary on New Year's access keys to learn more about how to get better control of New Year's access keys. So I had a lot of fun learning about it. I'm sure you guys will too. With that, guys, thank you so much for watching. Keep an eye out for more BlockHeads videos to come, and I'll catch you guys later.
My default usually is to say no to these things, so you'll determine whether I ever do another one again. So